Great. Hi. So I'm going to just have a quick canter through the investment opportunity that I see in what I call intelligent autonomous machines, but broadly speaking, a kind of robotics. So my kind of background in this space is that I was originally an engineer, and then I spent most of my early career working in the software industry and floated my business on the stock market in 2013 and ran it as a public company for a couple of years before I left. And at that stage, I really wanted to see the power of computing sort of break out from this sort of small area of the digital economy into the much bigger sort of real world that we all inhabit. And so I've spent the last 8 years investing in robotics and automation companies in the UK, and we've backed, through our sort of ultra early stage SEIS fund, about 50 companies in the space. And I guess I've never been more excited than I am today about the kind of opportunities for automation and robotics to transform the world. And fortunately for me, other people in the world are beginning to agree, which is always a nice position to be in. The world economy is about $110 trillion a year, and we think about 30% of that can be dramatically transformed through particularly labor-saving autonomy. So really, moving a whole bunch of industries where the core cost component is labor into much more efficient, sort of hyper-productive operations, which we think, certainly from an investment perspective, but also for a general economy perspective, will change the world in the same way that the energy revolution will do as well. So kind of, you'll all be aware that robotics has kind of bumped along for really quite a long period of time, and we've seen progressive improvements, but predominantly the sort of major use case of robotics has been in sort of high volume manufacturing. But we're now starting to see the kind of breakout of that area. And I guess slightly depressingly, the war in Ukraine has been a catalyst for this, and that for the first time you're seeing large numbers of independent autonomous machines being used kind of at scale. But we think that kind of military application will quite quickly spill over into more civilian use cases, and the market will grow very fast. As I say, the areas that we have been investing in over the last 6 or 7 years have really focused on things like food and farming, maritime, aerospace, kind of industrial applications, energy and construction. But we think it's the new levels of autonomy and applied intelligence and applied AI that are really transforming these sectors and allowing businesses to allow machinery which was typically sort of one-to-one machines to become one operator with many machines which are all either fully or semi-autonomous to kind of really transform all of these sectors. I guess a particular theme for our investment now is looking at ways that sort of the slightly older generation of robots, which were typically very good at automating a single task or a single sort of usage type, can actually become much more adaptable, hopefully a bit cheaper, and be able to be better at sort of decision making. And we're starting to see some really great startups come out of the UK in that space. And I guess the UK is a pretty good place to be investing because it's probably ranked about 3rd in the world in terms of the quality of robotics and AI research that's happening in UK universities. The challenge is, how does that technology get into the wide world? And I think it's sort of our job collectively as investors in this space to help founders make that happen. We've talked a bit about data, and this is a bit complicated, but I guess just in terms of intellectual property, we think the great story in robotics is using unique hardware to capture unique data and exploiting that in a kind of virtuous circle to make it really hard for competitors to copy what you've done. And we think the opportunity time in robotics is now to build platforms which can get into spaces and areas of the world that are hard to reach, capture unique data sets and make it very hard for the next people to do the same thing. Just a couple of quick examples of companies in this country which are really taking off. We've got basically an autonomous boating company down here in the south coast that is sort of quadrupling year on year in terms of revenues. It'll do about £10 million of revenues this year, and they provide autonomy systems and electric engines for boats, selling their products all around the world now. And then in the kind of more robotic space, using technologies like VR to actually train robotics to do tasks, and with quite limited training data, essentially get robotics to quite quickly be able to learn and replicate the sort of manual tasks that operators in production lines or in various parts of the economy are doing kind of themselves, and getting those kind of quick robotics cases into labour-saving activities is really interesting. In terms of our performance as investors in this space, I think probably our experience is kind of similar to that which we've seen from others. We're looking at finding a small number of companies that can really break through and make the big returns. And I think, for the 50 or so companies we've backed so far, we're broadly seeing that. And I guess it's becoming increasingly important for our business to focus in on, the 20 or 30% of companies that really do have the opportunity to go all the way, and make sure that a few of those become big winners for us. So yeah, I mean, just in terms of summary, I think, the opportunity for embodied AI is absolutely massive for growth and for the world economy, and it's really that trend that we're looking to fully kind of exploit and back. Being in the UK is a great place to be backing robotics companies, and we're gradually starting to see, if you like, all the Lego blocks come together, so it's easier, quicker for companies to get products together, and we're starting to see some of the distribution channels emerge, which mean that these kind of smart machines can break through into the mainstream economy. So I guess what I'd say, if any of you are interested in backing a UK robotics company or want to talk about it, please do get in touch, and we're always happy to co-invest.